I didn't have that gene, that entrepreneurial gene within me. If you got an idea in your head, there's something you wanted to do, and you're just thinking about it, waiting for the right moment, waiting for it to be perfect, waiting to know, just do it. Just send that first email. And it was only when I lost my mum about 17 years ago that I thought, oh, of course she was my mentor. I never quite realized that was the mentor that I never had.
Yeah. Welcome to this week's episode of A Beginner's Guide to Being a Grown-Up with me, your host, Sam Cooper-Gray. This week, we are honoured to have Sahar Hashemi here with us. Sahar started, scaled and sold Coffee Republic and then focused her attention on making a difference to women in business and set up and leads the campaign that is By Women Built. And we hear from her today on that journey, why she did it, how you manage a campaign, how important WhatsApp was to that, and lots of other stories besides. So join us in welcoming Sahar to the programme today. Sahar, welcome to the podcast, and we'll kick off with the same question we always do, which is, tell me a little bit about your journey into adulthood.
Well, hi, Sam. Lovely to be on your podcast. My journey into adulthood, where can I start? I don't know. I just think of my parents. I've lost both my parents, and I can only give a little tribute to them in this bit because I couldn't have wished for better parents who, I suppose gave me the gift of self-belief in a way. And I often think about that, and how they did that was that, they sort of encouraged me to want things, to dream for things I wanted to do. And then they made sure that I did them. So it's how self-belief builds, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that
absolutely.
In terms of, it's like a promise you make yourself. And when you do that, then you sort of start building the building blocks of self-belief and being able to do that. So I think my journey into adulthood was just completely supported by my parents. And in fact, I lost my dad much earlier than my mum, and I was always asked, who was your mentor? And it was only when I lost my mum about 17 years ago that I thought, oh, of course she was my mentor. I never quite realized that was the mentor that I never had.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit then about kind of getting to 18, kind of technically becoming an adult. Like, where were you? What were you doing? Kind of what was that journey as you started into life as an adult?
Well, I mean, the journey life as an adult, I wanted to become a lawyer. So
Okay.
I went to study law at university, and I was very kind of convinced that was a path for me. I think it was at that time there were those TV programs like LA Law and I forgot what it was called, Legal Legals or something. And it was during that time when I was like, oh my God, I've just got to become a lawyer. That was my dream. So very much that was dominated by becoming a lawyer, going to study law, getting a job in a law firm. That was my trajectory.
So that's not where you ended up and not what you're doing today. So tell me how you got from that young woman, determined to go into law and into a law firm. And for those who don't know you, you're now you're the brains and the power behind By Women Built, which I'm sure we'll come to. So tell me a little bit about that trajectory from wanting to study law, go into law. And I know there's a big business in the middle of that, which I know you're going to tell us about. So tell us a little bit about that journey.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's. I suppose people thoroughly know that story quite well. But I was a lawyer for 5 years, and it was really. I sort of, when my dad died, I decided that maybe law wasn't for me. I sort of felt like it wasn't really playing to my strengths after 5 years. I could feel other people doing really well, and somehow I could feel I was stalling. There was something that just wasn't quite right, and I just took a trip to New York to visit my brother, and there I saw American style coffee bars. I fell in love with having a skinny latte every morning. And it was really wanting a skinny latte for myself that was the catalyst for my brother and I to start Coffee Republic a year later and build it. But, I suppose sort of the essence of my story is I never thought I was an entrepreneur. I didn't know a single entrepreneur. I didn't have that gene, that entrepreneurial gene within me. So it was just the fact that I ended up doing it, which is why I called my book Anyone Can Do It, because I thought people are born entrepreneurs, that they're creative people that are meant to start a business. You know, you're born like that and you show all the traits that are going to get you to start a business. And neither me nor my brother, he was an investment banker, I was a lawyer. So the fact that we became entrepreneurs and I started doing creative things was so definitely new for me. And which is why I believe anyone can do it, that entrepreneurship isn't a gene or a chromosome. It's something that all of us have within us. And when you want to turn an idea into reality, you sort of become an entrepreneur. You don't start off as an entrepreneur.
I think that's a really nice, because I think we do generally think like some people are just destined to be entrepreneurs. You know, some of the entrepreneurs I've interviewed are like, they started hustling for business when they were like 10 years old. And so there was a very clear trajectory of that's where they were going to end up. So what was it about? So it was clearly something sparked in you. And you said that, you know, obviously your parents engendered this self-belief in you that you could kind of do whatever you wanted to do, which is clearly a necessity for you to have made the leap you had. And I'm sure losing your dad when you were young, you know, having lost both my parents like you, it does do something to you, which kind of means it makes you think like life is too short, right? To be doing something that's not.
Completely.
But, you know, you came back from New York and then and within a year you started like, I think a lot of people are like, wow, like how do you go from being a lawyer to starting a coffee house? When actually we did at the time, people didn't really do that in the UK.
Yeah, I know. And I mean, no one sort of, there was no, you know, apart from Richard Branson, and he was a worse role model because, I mean, you know, no one could be like him. I mean, in a way, bless him. Gosh, what an incredible guy. But, you know, you can't see yourself in Richard Branson when you look at him unless you're
No.
some swashbuckling extrovert. So he's not really relatable as someone. Yeah, it was just, you know, a kind of, you know, just taking one step after the other. And that's why I believe in starting small. You know, a lot of people can have great ideas, and I meet a lot of people with ideas, but the key is not to make your idea too big so that you can
Yeah.
never take that big jump. And
Yeah.
actually, my motto in life is leap and the net will appear. And I believe in leap and the net will appear. But the problem is people think when you say that, it means taking that big jump, risking everything. You know, how did you risk everything? How could you just live with such uncertainty? Whereas actually what I really mean by leap is just the teeny little micro leaps you take. You take one step, you do something, then that gathers momentum, you develop self-belief, and then you do something else, and it sort of compounds on itself. And I think that's what people don't really realize, that it's all the tiny stuff you do. So how you build a coffee bar in a year is just you make yourself a little to-do list and find cup, find coffee, find uniforms, find an architect that can design the site, find sugar, find milk, find pastry suppliers, just working your way through the to-do list, which is why I believe entrepreneurship isn't a special quality. It's actually human qualities that we use the whole time. It's just that we're not used to using them in business. And out of necessity, when you're an entrepreneur, you end up using all of these qualities because there's nothing else to fall back on. So all your lacks, in a way, the lack of resources, lack of experience, lack of time, become what is actually your biggest asset.
I've never thought about it like that, and you're absolutely right, because we do to-do lists in life and there's stuff we have to get done, right? But
Yeah, we
actually,
do them right.
yeah, if you then just apply that to business, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah, that
so
creativity that
important.
we use every day, be it Halloween, you know what I mean, for getting a costume,
Yeah.
be it we're decorating our house, the sort of DIY, the bootstrapping, the kind of stuff we do to get stuff happen. We just do every day, but somehow, you know, I think the corporate world, we sort of put a mask on in a way, and just entrepreneurship, just you have to remove
Yeah.
the mask. There's nothing else to fall back on, so you've got to dig really deep
Yeah.
and do what, you know, is really inside.
Yeah. It's the secret sauce is there's no secret sauce, it's just hard
Yeah,
work.
yeah, exactly. That's right. Exact
Yeah.
graft, hard graft.
Yeah. And you obviously grow, you know, Coffee Republic grew to being, you know, a household name in the UK, and you know, all of us have been into Coffee Republic and had a drink or something to eat. You obviously sold that business after, I can't remember how long did you run it for? Because
It
you
was
grew
just
really
5 years, very,
quickly.
very,
Yeah.
really short time. Yeah, really short time. Yeah.
And then, so tell me a little bit then about that ongoing journey from, you know, you sold out from Coffee Republic very quickly because it grew so quickly. And that must have been quite an experience, growing a business growing that kind of almost instantly, and the challenge with that, to selling it and then going on to do Buy Women Built.
Yeah, Confectionery Growing was just a classic example of a very startup-y environment, very entrepreneurial culture, suddenly changing and becoming like more of a corporate culture with a big
Yeah.
head office. And, we're working out of my mum's kitchen with clueless people with no great CVs, and suddenly you attract people from big companies. So it happens to so many people to start a business as their company grows. It's almost the culture changes almost overnight, and for us, the culture started changing, and when it got to 100 stores, we thought, oh well, you don't need the entrepreneur anymore. You need to have professional culture. You need managers. Don't need the passion of entrepreneurship. And in fact, what I've learned since, and the other book I wrote called Startup Forever, is actually it's such a pity to lose that, because that is where the customer
Yeah.
focus comes from. That's where
Yeah.
the agility and the innovation comes from. So we made a huge mistake leaving, thinking the company doesn't need the entrepreneur. You just have to hand it over to managers. But that was the thinking back then, that people.
And what a massive learn, because I think you're right. The founder, the entrepreneur, will always look at it in a different way to someone who's come in to just run it in a very corporate environment,
Yeah.
won't they? And have that kind of the drive and passion to make it absolutely right, so it does exactly what you wanted it to do, which is
Yeah.
potentially lost in a big corporate, which I think, as you say, happens to a lot of businesses. So you sold out after 5 years. Tell me then about kind of leaving that business that was your baby for 5 years and something completely new to you, to that journey into doing Buy Women Built, which I know is such a passion of yours and so important and having such a big impact.
Well, it's a long, long period that I sold in 2001. I didn't stop Buy One Build until 2020. So we're talking a long period whereby I wrote my books. I started, I was very busy with anyone could do it, and that concept of anyone could do it. I started another business called Skinny Candy. And I always really missed it, Sam. I always thought people say that people sort of, always said, would you ever start something else? And I'd be like,
Yeah.
actually, I could have done it already. But I really missed it. I never thought I could start something until in COVID, when the idea of Buy One Built hit me like lightning in a way. And I saw the tweet, and the tweet that appeared was almost, the message was, not all of us can invest in women, not all of us can mentor women, but we can all buy from them. And that tweet was really the light bulb for me.
Yeah. So again, you took something from I mean, I remember talking to you when you were right at the beginning of that journey. And like you talked me through it, and I was like, absolutely. Like, this makes
I
complete
remember
sense.
coffee, exactly.
Yeah. And again, it was one of those things that was such a good idea. It was crazy someone hadn't done it before. But then the logistics of it just sounded really complicated. And my guess is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you applied that same kind of, there's no secret sauce, you plod through and do all the things. So how did you get it from where it was that ideation of just seeing that tweet to the massive success it is today, and the difference that it makes to all of those female brands?
Yeah, it's a good question. So I saw the tweet in November of end of November of 2020, and I did. 2021 started, and I started having Zooms and meetings with people like yourself, everyone who I knew in the ecosystem. And I remember I took a whole year of just having Zooms, and we were like in lockdowns and things like that. So it wasn't much meeting people. And I just remember thinking, by the end of that year, sort of almost 12 months later, I was like, damn, this idea, everyone says great idea, but for a whole year, it's just stayed as an idea.
Yeah.
And I know how dangerous ideas are, because I believe there's that sort of graveyard of ideas somewhere where everyone, I once had that idea. I thought, gosh, I'm falling foul of everything I talk about. And this is just going to be, and I really could feel this is such a pity, but I'm not going to be able to start this. And it was a really dreadful feeling, thinking that what a pity, because I just have no idea where to start, because I'm going to start a movement to tell consumers about women built brands. But, you know, with a movement, where do you start with a movement? How can you build a movement unless you've got, 20 million pounds, like with, some big advertising agency? Where do you even start? Where do you even begin? And I just thought, I literally almost thought I'm just going to abandon this. And just before Christmas, just before the year ended, I had a co-founder at that time, Barney McCauley, who was actually very much on that starting journey with me. And we both sort of said, and said he was on a WhatsApp group with 200 people on them, and I'd never been on such a big WhatsApp group. And then we just got this idea that actually, do you know what? I'm just going to start a WhatsApp, because that's one thing I can do, is start this WhatsApp. And really just because, and so I remember I was sitting on a panel with three other founders that I didn't know that well. In a funny way, they weren't the founders that I knew that were immediate, but I thought I've got three founders there. I went to the other room and I created a quick WhatsApp group there and then on my phone. And I was like, here, give me your number. I'm starting a movement around female founders. Join the WhatsApp. And, of course, like, it was quite embarrassing for a certain amount of time, having three people on a WhatsApp group when you're starting a movement. And you're like, I'm starting a movement, there are three people. But bless them, I then added another fourth one, another fifth one, and a sixth one. And they started telling each other about it. We met in February of 20, we all sort of met together for coffee, and I could see how much sharing there was, and I could see the magic between all these founders when they come together. And it was really, when I saw that, I was like, wow, there's something there. And, I really believe ideas have momentum. In your head, nothing, complete inertia, but actually ideas have momentum. And so suddenly it was very much like I could tell this is going somewhere. And it just, and it just started, it just started going, I think, slightly like wildflower. And
So you've been on this amazing journey of, starting two very different businesses, one creating a movement, one making coffee, both of which scaled really quickly. If we reflect back to your younger self, if your 18-year-old self getting ready to go to university to study law, real, focus on going into being a lawyer, what would she recognize in you today?
what do you mean recognize? You would sort of see the same thing, or?
Yeah. She'd kind of identify and goes, oh, yeah, no, I kind of thought she'd be like that, be doing that. What would she really kind of
Yeah,
resonate if she could see you today?
I think I've always wanted to love what I do. I think kind of, I've always wanted to love what I do. I've always wanted to do something whereby I play to my strengths and I enjoy it and it uses all of me. And what I'm really proud, I suppose, about my career is that I think I use all of me. And people tend to get this wrong nowadays, of bring 100% yourself. And I think bring 100% yourself. Sometimes I think for people, it's kind of almost like there should be no boundary between your professional life and your own life. Whereas I actually think that, there is that thing of, when you sort of got to focus on what you're doing at that time when you're at work. And so it's not about kind of oversharing or anything, but it's just 100% yourself means you're using every part of yourself. A sort of kind of different kind of person comes up. So you're using all your creativity. You're not just putting on the work mask. You're using your heart, your brain, what I mean? You've got the empathy with the clients you're serving or the customers you're selling to. You're using your creativity, your resourcefulness, you're thinking out the box. That's what I mean by bring 100% yourself. And
Yeah.
that is, the kind of prize of that is just aliveness, loving what you do. Really, you're in the flow, that kind of, that book, being in the flow. And so that is, I think, what I would say to my younger
Yeah.
self, that I finally found something where I would be in the flow.
And what would she be absolutely blown away by? What should be like, oh my God, I never expected you to be doing that, saying that. Like what would blow her away, do you think?
Gosh, maybe blowing away to doing a podcast. I can't believe you're someone that gets asked to do a podcast. Maybe that's what she'd be blown away by.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I just, life in a funny way. Sometimes they say, should be careful of dreams because, it can be better than what you ever dreamt of. And,
Yeah.
I can't imagine I would have ever been able to think of this journey I've been on. I just couldn't have even visualize that this is, what I wanted. I just wanted to be good at what I do. That's what all I wanted was sort of, I didn't even see that far. And I think sometimes, it's not really about ambition as such. It's sort of, I think all of us should just wish that we do something that uses us, because, people put these dreams in their head sometimes, or talk about where's my passion. It's not really where your passion is. It's sort of finding where who you are and what you do are aligned together.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think for any 18-year-old, knowing that and having confidence that's where you're going to end up, I think is quite hard, right? I think it would
Yes,
be very hard for
exactly.
anyone to really be that put together when they were that young, right?
Yeah.
So we make lots of decisions in our lives. Obviously, you made some big decisions around kind of pivoting from law to starting a business to selling the business, which is another massive decision, right? To writing a book. What would you say is the best decision you've ever made?
Best decision I ever made. Actually, I mean, buy one built, I think was incredible. When I saw that tweet, I kind of think how lucky I was that I read the tweet and I made a call. You know what I mean? I called up Jacqueline de Roccas who'd done it, and I was like, this was amazing, and I acted on it. So I'm happy that I made it. I made tons of crap decisions. So yeah, I don't think, Sam, if I was to tell you, I don't think life is about the one decision you make. Life is about, and that's what people make a mistake. It's just about the tiny stuff, that compound.
Yeah.
And everything we have in life is a sort of lagging indicator of the millions of decisions we made. So,
Yeah.
no one's ever at such a pivotal moment. People think it's sort of, even they think entrepreneurship is that one big leap. Life is not at that pivot. You're never really at that pivotal crossroad. It's like you might think something tiny, then do something else. So it's about compounding the millions of
Yeah.
decisions, I think.
And I think that goes back to what you were saying about kind of just having a to-do list and doing one thing after another, right? Which is a big decision is the result of lots of tiny decisions you've made before. So it's actually not a
Absolutely,
big decision.
absolutely. There's no such thing as a big decision.
Yeah.
And I think that people think it's a big decision, and that's why they sit there pontificating on whether or not they should have a career change. Just wait until see what comes up. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do what you can. It's sort of, my advice is sort of be where your feet are. It's always the best place. And we
Yeah.
have, as humans, we have a tendency to sort of look over it the whole time. Try to look too far ahead, and we
Yeah.
can't, especially in this world that's changing so fast. We definitely can't.
Yeah, absolutely. Someone told me the other day that on average, there are 4,000 weeks in our lifetime. So we should
Yeah,
make this week count.
absolutely.
And like that, I just loved that, because I thought,
Yeah,
what an amazing thing, which is it stops you kind of pontificating about the what ifs and really focus on what can I do now. And again,
absolutely.
it goes back to
Absolutely.
you just have to keep
Yeah.
doing one thing and one thing. We all get given lots of advice. We all give lots of advice, I think. What's the best? You said you sometimes have not made the best decisions, but what's the best piece of advice you've been given that you completely ignored?
That I ignored. Oh God. Um, you know, I finally learned that, hire people that are better than you. And I never knew what that meant. And actually with Buy One Built, being older and understanding what it's like to build a team,
Yeah.
I didn't really know what that meant. And so I'm, lucky at Buy One Built that, I'm sort of got a really great team around me, and I'm just so proud of them, and they're brilliant. And I just love getting their ideas. I mean, they're ahead of me. They're younger. It just works perfectly. And I think I never realized that when I was younger.
Yeah. 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 I think a lot of those learns come from having not done it right before, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's the scars that are like, yeah.
Yeah. Um, so I ask all of my guests to do this, which is to set our listeners a personal challenge. So if you could set each of our listeners a personal challenge, and it can be anything, what would that personal challenge be?
If you got an idea in your head, there's something you wanted to do, and you're just thinking about it, waiting for the right moment, waiting for it to be perfect, waiting to know, just do it. Just send that first email, call that person, do that first prototype. Don't wait until you're sure it works, because success only comes from that first action, that first little step you take. And that step's going to be quite unbaked. It'll probably be a bit embarrassing. Probably if you look back on it, you're probably just going to think, God, I wish I'd never done that. But it's actually the most powerful thing you ever do
Yeah.
is literally, get off this podcast and just go and do that one thing. And don't just sit there dreaming of it. It's just such a waste of time.
Yeah.
Take the leap. Just take that leap and you'll see that it's in taking the leap that everything starts happening.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter how big the leap is. It might just be that first message to someone going, I've got this idea. What do you think? And I think as well.
Well, I'm sorry, Sam, I'm just going to correct you actually,
Yeah.
because I promise a lot of people would say, I've got this idea, what do you think? And I think that's absolutely
Okay.
worth
Okay.
go
Okay. Great.
literally, you know what I mean, do something about the idea, buy a notebook and put the idea in there and just say, like, I'm going to do 1, 2, this is the stuff I've got to do. Because the problem people have
It's
with
more
the idea,
active.
what you think, how
Yeah.
the hell would someone know what they think of the idea? I mean, even if you had I always say to
Really good
founders
point.
who say, can you mentor me about idea? I'm like, if you had Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg, Richard Branson, and whoever sitting there, they still wouldn't be able to tell you if the idea was great. Only you know if your idea is great by getting it out there.
Yeah.
So don't sit there asking for opinion. Just get your idea out there and see if it's going to work, and do it small, and then like that, the risk is less.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and it feels amazing taking that step, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Terrifying, but amazing. And I think that's what people don't
yeah.
realize is once
Yeah,
you've
well, yeah,
taken the
it's
leap.
terrifying. It's probably unglamorous, but after a while, you realize it, and you're like, oh, that was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So we've come to our last question. I'm not sure how we've got here because I love that the story that you've told us and the journey that you've been through and the nuggets that you've shared. And I think your personal challenge for a lot of our listeners will really resonate. So obviously it's called A Beginner's Guide to Being a Grown-Up. So we talk about the fact that we are all making it up most of the time.
Right, lovely.
So if you could put one piece of advice into the Beginner's Guide, what would that piece of advice be?
Just start. Don't overthink. Just do something. Any time spending overthinking and doubting yourself is just a waste of time. Just get into the doing.
And that applies to everything in life, right? So not just starting a business, but just anything that you want to change or do differently or do
I mean, with my
better.
team, we get ideas and we talk about it. And we're like, guys, let's just do it. Let's just do it. Let's just talk about it. Let's not talk about doing a series, or let's not talk about that being our strategy. There's no such thing as our strategy. Let's just do it. We just talked about it. It's a great idea. Let's just try it out. Let's just see. Let's just see what it looks like. Because what is in your head and what is out there in the world are very different. And you're only going to know if it's good if it's out there in the world, getting real feedback
Yeah.
from actual people that are going to be using it.
Yeah. Because if you don't try it, you never know it'll be successful. If you try it and it's not successful, you've got an answer, right? And if you try
Yeah,
it and
or
it's successful, you get
just
on with it.
just a slight tweak and you'll do another one. Exactly.
Yeah. Brilliant. Fantastic advice. Sahar, thank you so much for joining us today.
Sam, I loved it. Good luck with this
And
podcast.
telling your story. Yeah, good luck with continuing to make By Women Built grow and become the massive, great big supporter of female brands that it is already.
Thank you. And if everyone could follow By One Built and everything, I'm on LinkedIn. So yeah, I'd love that.
We will put all the links in the show notes so everyone can do that.
Lovely.
Brilliant. Lovely. Thank you.
Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of A Beginner's Guide to Being a Grown-Up. Please do like, subscribe and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget, we are now on video on Spotify as well as on YouTube. Next week, we will be interviewing Maggie Chen. And Maggie is the founder of Girls in Charge and has a real mission to improve skills development across the spectrum, and tells us a little bit about her journey and how she got to where she is today. And in the meantime, enjoy being a grown-up.